My name is Chiaki Yoshino. I work under a female pen name at the Marukawa Publishing Company. My editor, Yoshiyuki Hattori, is an old friend of mine, so he always speaks openly about my mistakes and shortcomings. In the evening, Hattori cooked a delicious dinner for me. I asked him about his personal life, since he had always been popular. At first, he said he was too busy and didn't have time for dating, but then he admitted that he liked someone, although things would hardly work out between them. I probably shouldn't have asked him such things. At that moment, my friend Yanase rang the doorbell and brought me a new book. He doesn't get along very well with Hattori, although they've known each other since childhood. After Hattori left, I told Yanase that Hattori cooks for me and does my laundry. Yanase remarked that this was already too much, then said goodbye and left. The next day, I saw Yanase and Hattori together, which surprised me greatly. They were having a heated discussion while I watched them from afar. Hattori kissed Yanase, and I realized that when he had spoken about the impossibility of a relationship with the person he liked, he meant Yanase. After that, I couldn't focus on work and avoided looking at Yanase. Later, Hattori called and we discussed work, but he casually asked what Yanase had said about him. After that, I became completely certain that something really was going on between them. There was a time when I complained to Hattori about how difficult it was to combine studies and drawing. He then suggested that I simply become a manga artist. Since then, we have worked together, and one day he kissed me. After I finished my manuscript, I got sick. Lying with a fever, I kept thinking, if Hattori loves Yanase, why did he kiss me? Why did Yanase refuse to take it seriously? Maybe he doesn't like Hattori, but that seemed impossible. Hattori was the best guy in the world. I cried, realizing that I could never be someone Hattori liked as much as I wanted. Then I received a message from Hattori inviting me to a fireworks festival. I got ready and went without hesitation. Hattori brought me to a spot he said had the best view, and then he told me he would no longer be my editor. I was shocked, but he confessed that he loved me and explained that he had once become a manga editor because of me. I returned his feelings and didn't want him to leave. Hattori believed it would be better if I had a new editor, but he still kissed me. At home, we continued kissing and he kept repeating how much he loved me. The next morning at work, we argued as usual, but this time, Hattori calmed me with a kiss and made it clear that next time he would even give me a playful spanking.
I thought nothing bad would happen if I went to a spa resort with you for a couple of days, but now I'm struggling to finish my manuscript on time. By the way, Yu still isn't speaking to Hattori. Sometimes it feels like I really did steal his boyfriend from him. When I finally finished working on the manga, all I wanted was to lie down and do nothing. Hattori brought groceries and started cooking dinner. He looked unusually tired. He said that this year I absolutely had to attend the New Year's party at the publishing house. They're planning to turn my manga into a TV series next year. I really didn't want to go, but I agreed on the condition that you would be there. You also promised to go shopping with me and help me pick out something to wear for the occasion. After you left, I started asking Hattori what usually happens at this event. The more he described it, the more convinced I became that it would be painfully boring, and I said again how relieved I was that you would be there with me. Hearing that, Hattori suddenly lunged at me and kissed me. I was so startled by his intensity that I pushed him away. Offended, he said he had to go and left. I kept thinking, Yu loves Hattori, Hattori loves me, and I love them both, but Hattori is special to me. The day of the New Year's party finally came. The publishing house was filled with mangaka and their assistants. While you went to get us some snacks, Hattori took me around to introduce me to the script writers. Later, a group of girls surrounded Hattori, and he told me to wait for him in the lobby. Yu was again offered a permanent position, but he refused once more. He says he can't leave me. I thought that maybe it was also easier for him that way to run into Hattori. All this time I watched Hattori surrounded by women, and I hated it. You also told me about the woman who was standing next to him. She's the leading mangaka of the Emerald Publishing label. According to you, she has a crush on Hattori, constantly invites him to lunch to discuss work. After hearing that, I decided it was time for me to go home. Hattori came back late in the evening. He smelled of women's perfume. He started telling me which parts of the manuscript needed to be redone, but I wasn't listening anymore. All I could see was him smiling at that woman. I held back for a long time, but eventually I couldn't take it anymore and said I didn't want to talk to someone who reeks of someone else's perfume. I remembered the look on his face next to that mangaka. Hattori tried to explain that it was all work-related, but I couldn't stop. I threw a full-blown jealous tantrum. I demanded that he finally decide whether we were together or not. Then Hattori asked whether I wouldn't be better off with you since I always call him first, and lately I've done nothing but push Hattori away. But I assured him that he's the only one I want to kiss. He said he loved me, and then he kissed me. Later, you arrived and began telling Hattori that I thought he was in love with him, but you said he didn't like Hattori at all, and who he actually likes, he still didn't say.
I once again failed to submit my manuscript on time. Hattori is surely angry again. Exhausted, I lay down on the desk. For some reason, you started sketching me and asked me not to move, but I had absolutely no time to pose. When I got up and walked across the room, I stumbled. You caught me and, trying to cheer me up, jokingly teased me and poked my side to make me laugh. He even joked that he'd stop bothering me if I let him draw a more detailed portrait. When I turned around, I saw Hattori. He dropped the groceries at the doorway, turned around, and left. Since I had missed the deadline again, I wrote Hattori a letter of apology. A week passed, but there was still no answer, so I decided to visit him at home. He took a long time to open the door. I started apologizing right away, but he said he wasn't angry because I'd missed the deadline. I do that regularly. He was upset because you had hugged me. He doesn't like other guys getting physically close to me, especially you. I couldn't understand why Hattori treated him like a rival. After all, he is just a friend. Hattori asked if I truly didn't understand anything. Then he sat me down on the bed and said he wouldn't let me leave until I listened. But I had spent the whole night finishing the manuscript and was so exhausted that I simply fell asleep. In the morning, Hattori made breakfast for me, and it seemed his mood had improved a little. I warned him that I would be gone because I was going to the hot springs with you. Hattori frowned again and asked if I really didn't remember what day it would be. Then he told me to finish eating quickly and go. I still didn't understand what was going on. We never managed to make up, and I went to the hot springs. There, I couldn't stop thinking about Hattori. At dinner, they brought me a cake, a gift from you for my birthday. Only then did I realize what day Hattori had meant. That was why he had been upset. He had clearly been preparing something for me. I was eating cake while you drank champagne. I noticed his intense gaze. He was already quite tipsy and once again asked me to let him draw me more naturally. He insisted so much that I agreed to loosen up and remove my jacket so he could get a better look at my posture. Sometime later, when I asked you whether he was tired of drawing me, he said no because he cared about me deeply. I couldn't understand what he meant and hurried to get dressed again. You stopped me and asked if I remembered him once asking who I liked. If I was curious, he was ready to answer. But at that moment, my phone rang. It was Hattori. Claiming the connection was bad, I ran outside. Hattori first talked about work, then apologized for his behavior and wished me a happy birthday. I returned to the room and told you I urgently needed to go home. Just a couple of hours later, I was standing at Hattori's door. I told him I really wanted to see him. He asked me to say it again and offered to let me stay the night. Then he handed me a gift. When I opened the box, I saw manuscript paper. I was upset. I had hoped for something more romantic. Hattori gently held my hand and said that, in that case, he would simply give me his time and attention. Hattori leaned closer and kissed me softly, and I didn't resist. He asked what scent I had on me.
I admitted I had been at the hot springs with you. Then Hitori got upset and said he didn't like the idea of others seeing me in situations where I might be vulnerable or too relaxed. He asked me to promise not to go on trips with you anymore because he was jealous. The next morning, I told my assistants the plot of my new manga. Only they would never know that the main character of this story is me.